My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams. All at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
Bobby, you SOB. Fishing with my dad. And I tied on a jig and I was like, oh, fishing like a swim jig because Bobby and Binya be telling me about it. Look what I caught. A little chunky monkey. Good tip, boy. This guy right here.
Bobby roast beef, another Jigs and Bigs episode here. We got a good one. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my voice is back. I'm finally getting out of that like chest cold world that I've been living in, and I have not been loving it. So it's good to finally at least sound a little bit better than the occasional, cough here and there. Anyway, we got ourselves one hell of a week this week. Joe apparently had a great week on the water. We got some good stuff to talk about. Well, he's talking topwater in just the tip, and I'm interested about that because I'll tell you what, this is that time of year. For me, we get to about midsummer and we go all the way into the fall, and I try to capitalize on those low light levels anytime I can. Let's talk topwater. I'd love to have that discussion. On top of that, your boy had some crazy stuff happen this week. Got out, did some fishing. It was kind of all over the place for conditions and for the outcome. Surprises all around, ladies and gentlemen. We got an FTG this week that comes firsthand from me, an experience that I saw and got to share and educate a little bit of a novice angler as well at the same time. It's pretty interesting stuff. We have a major announcement basically involving the October slot tournament. Yeah, we have registration that's live. You can check all this stuff out. Plus, we have some special information for our jigheads. So if you're not a jighead, go ahead and make sure you're subscribed right now so you can get in on this. Guys, grab yourself something good to enjoy. We'll see you in a bit. We got more Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this. Straight up just rambling during that intro, man. Just fucking rambling, dude.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
God, it's just, I get so excited. You know what I mean? I just get so freaking excited. Metal Jones jumps in. He says, I was going to ask if Joe had extra sugar in his Frostios. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
I've been kind of, I'll be honest. I've been kind of cutting down my drinking lately. So
yep.
I'll throw it out there, Bobby. So in the last like 2.5 months, I have lost like 25 pounds.
Shut up. Good for you, dude. Yeah.
Dude, yeah. So I don't tell a lot of people, but like, me being in the military the last 21 years, I've always been in really good shape. And, the last like year and a half, I got an office job, dude, like versus, being on the field with the guys.
Different animal. Yep.
Shooting guns and fucking trekking the woods and all that shit. I don't do it as much as I used to, and it caught up to me real fast. So, got some motivation from my wife. She lost, you haven't seen her in a while, Bobby. Wait till you see Meg. She's lost like 65 pounds.
That's fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah. Dude, you should see. I wish I could show it. So I'm actually in my wife's office right now. This is her office. She lets me borrow it for the podcast.
That's awesome.
And this desk right here is like one of those ones that raise up. And the whole desk goes up.
Like a standing desk?
She's got one of those she's got one of those, standing desks. Dude, she's got one of those fucking desk treadmills. Dude, she does like 10 miles a day.
Holy shit.
Just walks all day as she's working.
Yeah.
I don't have the coordination. I would fall and die probably.
That is a skill. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have it, man.
But no, so back to it. I hadn't been drinking a ton, so the last 2 days I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let loose a little bit. I had a full week of training, got my ass kicked over last week.
Yep.
So I was like, fuck it, dude. Meg and I went out last night, had a good time, had some drinks, and then I started again a little while ago. So should be a fun show.
That's what I'm saying. And it is nice because you get a little bit of a tolerance like adjustment in there. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It does make it pretty good. Although Metal Jones, Zach comments, he goes, damn, that means less ad space on your shorts when you do fishing lives. It's true. It's true.
Dude, all the ad space you want. So here's the thing, Zach. I do a ton. I don't even know if you've noticed or realized it, because I know you're not huge into TikTok, but I do TikTok lives all the time when I'm out on the boat.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but you're always seeing my back, Zach. So you giving me some ad space with the fucking t-shirt on the back, and I'll wear that shit.
Hell yeah, dude. It's funny, man. I've been dealing with the same thing with. This actually ties into some fucking new gear for the Lund.
Hell yeah.
Some fucking production gear too. So I have been wrestling with like camera angles on the Lund, mainly because of like batteries, like the head cam I think is the best.
Yeah.
For what I'm doing, I think having the hat cam, it works the best. But like I only have a couple of batteries, and it's so easy with the Lund to just be able to plug in my charger and put it like on the windshield on the suction cup mount or something like that.
Sure.
So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to jump into a little bit of my week a little bit early here, but I did something, and I worked on a video today. That's kind of why I went out to the lake where I went, because I got to start out by saying a big, huge thank you to Drew Gregory. Right. Drew was apparently impressed enough with the fishy trivia that he hooked me up with a sizable gift card for Yak Attack, which is pretty cool. With Yak Attack, one of the sponsors, of course, of the whole kayak adventure series. But so he hooked me up with this gift card, and I'm like, my yak is pretty dialed. I don't really know what I need to do here.
Right.
Exactly. Like it's pretty fucking dialed. Like I could probably pick up a couple more. You can never have too many roto grips. I'll be honest about that. For as far as kayak rigging, it's great to have. It's like having an extra prop. It's just smart. Well, I went to the Yak Attack website, and I'm looking around, and I saw these things that they put together, and basically what they are is they're for your boat. They come in a 45 or a 90 degree variable. There's two different ones, and they're used for, like, Lund has it, they call Sport Track, right? And what that is like around the edge of the hull, both on the inside and on the outside, you have this channel where you can put mounts that just screw down into place, and you can move them and change them, customize them however you want. So your boy after discovering this, I was like, well, I'm going to get like 5 of them, because I can think of 5 right away. I needed a few rod holders. I needed a spot to be able to, where I typically net a fish, and now that I've got a couple of months, on the boat, I know where this needs to be. So I have a rod holder that's right there, where I generally am like netting a fish. I can pop my rod into one spot, open up the spool, get rid of that tension, handle the fish, get it in the live well, and just it makes everything so much more efficient. I have 2 other rod holders that are right in front of the console, and I put those are like my follow-up baits. That's where, like, I just stage those. They're right behind me, and they're vertical. They're up and down, so they don't get in the way. They're not hanging over the boat or anything like that. Your boy got the cup holder, the Yak Attack cup holder, right next.
That's a game changer.
Dude, it's so good. So I might actually end up getting another one. And either way, I'm putting holes in the bottom, I'm drilling small holes in the bottom so that it drains. But this will hold like my big 32-ounce Nalgene. But on top of that, like, it's a great spot to put spent baits. You know?
Yes.
Where it
Yes,
drains,
yes,
and then
yes.
it's like, I'm like, dude, it's like, so it's so crazy because I am 100% still thinking like a kayak angler on this vessel. But at the same time, oddly enough, it's Yak Attack that makes these. And I believe I've priced their turnkey adapters for the Sport Track versus the actual Lund ones.
It's a bargain to go with Yak Attack.
Absolutely a bargain. The other thing that I did was pretty awesome. So I got 5 in total, 3 rod holders in the cup holder.
Yep.
The 5th one goes behind me on the console. I have the Yak Attack GoPro arm, and I've actually rigged it with a USB-C cable that I can plug in. So now I can put that camera in a bunch of different locations. And with the nature of the way that mount works, I can actually just like pick it up and swivel it. So it can go on the back deck or it's
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I think we might be getting somewhere, you know?
Yeah. That's one cool thing about the Icon with Jacob Wheeler designing that thing is they put, obviously those guys are constantly, on top of, during tournaments and whatnot, having cameras or having cameramen on the boat.
Yep.
They're constantly running cameras for their YouTube channels, their social media and stuff. So he put USB ports everywhere on this boat, which is phenomenal. I run GoPro Hero 12s, and I love the I love the chest rig.
Yep.
But the fucking batteries die so fast.
Totally.
So I flirted with the idea. So I have like right there in front of me, right on my graphs, I have 2 USB ports, 2 or 4. So I thought about like, oh man, maybe I'll just get a long ass cable and plug it into the chest rig when I'm there. But then I'm like, but will I get tangled up and fall off the fucking boat? You know what I mean?
You know what the move is, Joe? Seriously?
What's that?
I might even have one right in here. I mean, and like I don't. It doesn't need to be this brand necessarily, but this is one of the things that I have learned is, and with this on this show, this has gotten so much press from this company, and I use their batteries in my kayak, but Naqua. They make this power pack.
Yeah, put the power. That makes way. I could stick it in my fucking pocket.
Yeah, pop it in your pocket, or even better. There's like a little loop here with like a carabiner. Hang it on the back of the chesty. And then you've got it. It's not. You don't have to worry about tripping over it or anything like that.
Yep.
And I think. This comes in at what is it? A 10,000 milliamp. Yeah. Yeah,
so
10,000
should
milliamp.
last me a minute.
Yeah, you're gonna get a few different. Yeah, exactly. Metal Jones was like, hell no, get a battery pack. Yeah, it's a game changer. And these you can pick them up like nothing all over.
Sure,
but if although like if you can run your USB, if you're gonna put a stationary camera somewhere to get that alternate view. Definitely, just take the batteries out of that fucker and like.
I do. So I do that with my stationary cameras. I just run them into. I have the one that goes into the anchor light that powers through there, and then that's cool. And then I have a rig on my console where the power comes from my console and I plug it in. So it's just, but that chest rig's such a cool view. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's perfect.
But it's like you get 20 minutes out of the fucking thing these days. And so it's like, and I'm the kind of person when it dies, I'm like, I don't feel like fucking taking this. Like I'm focused on fishing. I don't feel like taking it off.
Even just
taking
change the battery, it's a pain in the ass.
That's what I mean. Like it's so I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to buy a fucking battery pack.
Yeah, I think just battery pack's the move. And I mean, 10 milliamp is light enough. Where it doesn't really weigh you down. You get into like the really big ones or the ones that have like solar chargers. Those get a little bit heavy, but like something like this is a good size. And I've used, they said it was a good size. I just went for it,
I do, Zach, I do have the pass-through doors on all my GoPros for that reason. So yeah, I'm going to.
See, I'm using a GoPro 7 Black, and I don't think they make the pass-through door for that.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so. In fact, anytime it's raining, like even like just substantially enough at all, I immediately am stopping production. Like,
Sure.
my
Yeah, I
iPad
don't
has a
blame you.
waterproof case. Like, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, right.
It's
And
nuts.
our fucking phones now are waterproof.
God, dude! Yeah, I'm telling you, the iPhone, like out the gate, every model, like I think from
Yeah.
the iPhone 7 on, has been waterproof to like a stupid level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking nuts. So yeah, Yak Attack. Big shout out to that Yak Attack. Big shout out to Drew Gregory, man. I appreciate that, dude, big time. And I was amazed. I was like, holy crap! I'm like, because I almost considered. I was like, what am I going to do with this? I am all about, just mixing it up and keeping things juicy. And that I was, looking at the rig today. I'm fishing on it. I'm like, this is working out exactly the way I wanted it to. I am going to pick up one of those really like simple, like 3 or 4 rod holders and put the screw one into the console, just so that I can get, like, what I'm trying to do is eliminate somebody who's fishing in the back console from having to trip over my stuff that's back there.
Sure.
Give them as much space as possible. Keep it as much organized and condensed as I can.
Yep.
Like, I do have rod lockers, but like I only carry 6 or 7 rods, so I'm mixing them up nonstop, unless I'm only using one thing because it happens to be like that's the pattern, and they just it's locked in my hand. So, but having the access to them right there, I think that's just a freaking move. But yeah, it was really, really cool. I had a good day today with it. So yeah, big shout again, Drew Gregory, Yak Attack. Wow. And there is a video coming. I recorded like the whole unboxing and did some time-lapse stuff, like installing some of the pieces, showing everything off, and then I did a little fishing too today, so there's some stuff in there. I'm hoping some of these fish catches are on camera. My GoPro is giving me issues today, which, although I think toward the end of the day, it was all heat-related. It was just all heat related. Like I was getting the little thermometer icon in the front, and it was shutting off. I'm like, okay, we'll let it chill, let it just sit there, do its thing. And but yeah, there were some of the fish catches I got were pretty freaking awesome. There was we'll talk about this in a bit, but there was a specific toothy critter that I hooked into that was just a blast. And if the video turns out the way I did, that drag on my BFS combo was screaming. Good stuff. Good
And
stuff.
that was today?
Yeah, that was today. I had a real good time. And I had a weird situation pop up, and I know I texted you about that, Joe.
Yes.
We'll talk about Gilligan.
Yep. Yes. You know what's funny is, like, I'm waiting for you to tell me the story.
Yep.
Because I actually think I know
who it is.
I think I
had a feeling.
Yep.
I had a real strong
It's
feeling.
such a small town.
Oh,
you know what
for
I mean?
sure.
It's such a small town.
So let's go ahead. Before we actually dive in, I want to do this a little backwards. I want to do the hot topic first before we do the weekly recap, because this is big.
Yeah.
We're already like over 15 minutes into the show. Jigheads, pay special attention. And I mean, entire listening audience, like this is something you're going to want to know about. But Jigheads especially, there is something in this that is very special for you. I don't think we do enough cool shit for the Jigheads. This is fucking cool. This is going to be this is a good time. So here's the deal. The slot tournament. Remember, I said we were going to do one in the summer, earlier in the summer, and we did. That was in June, and then we did the one in. It was going to be in September originally, and after I was talking with, and I know we've talked a little bit about this. I was talking with Nick DeShane, good old Saint Nick. And we were talking about the idea of doing a trip in October. And I was like, man, that sounds really awesome. So we carved out a weekend where we just wanted to have like basically a big hang, like a bunch of the folks from the Dark Horse Tackle Pro staff, that whole team, a bunch of like other content creators. Like I know we talked with Brad and Matt from the Catch Podcast, and just basically everybody who kind of hung out in February, like getting together in a little bit more of a central location and just fishing and having a good time and creating content, doing all this other stuff. Well, it crossed my mind that we should just double down on this and plan to have the slot limit tournament happen to be that weekend. So that's ultimately what we did. And I said to Nick, I said, dude, I think we could actually go even further with this and make it a tournament of that's a fundraiser, a breast cancer research fundraiser. He's like, dude, I love that. Let's go ahead and do that. So that's exactly what we did. We put this together, and I did it all this weekend. I organized the entire tournament, and I had it go live like almost immediately so that I could get some folks so I could test it, make sure registration was working and everything was good, because they did change a couple things, stuff I've never changed. Like we did change the ticket amount, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So I'm actually going to call this up so that I know exactly what it is that I'm looking for. But what this is the this tournament is the Jigs and Bigs October Bass Slot Limit Tournament to benefit Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So a portion of the entry fee is going to BCRF, and we're going to be making a huge donation. We're actually planning on doing another type of ticket that people who just want to support, it'll probably just be like a straight donation fund or something like that we'll do on Instagram, on all of our socials. So if folks don't want to compete, they listen to the show and they're like, I'm not going to be around, or, I have a gambling issue or something, whatever. They don't want to get into it. They can still make the donation and just, be a part of it all. So, yeah. It follows the same rules as the Midsummer Mayhem tournament, just like we did in June. So it's a slot limit tournament from 12-inch minimum, all black bass species, 12-inch minimum, and the limit is 17 inches. Any fish that crosses 17 inches does not count. So you can't enter in an 18, a 20, a 21 as a 17-inch fish. It doesn't count. So this is intended to equalize things throughout the entire country, because this is a nationwide bass tournament. It all happens on Saturday, October the 12th. It kicks off at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Means that on the West Coast, in the Pacific time zone, it kicks off at 5 a.m. It is an 8-hour-long tournament. We basically run it from 8 to 4. And after that, so it would be, 5 to 1 in California, Dave. So I have done away with one of the things, one of the requirements for this tournament. There is no check-in this time. So that means if you wanted to bounce from body of water to body of water, have at it. Like, go ahead. If it's not working out for you, you want to change bodies of water, that's fine. But it's only going to be that 8-hour window. So be smart about it. Make the right decisions. Is it really worth it to change bodies of water and eat up that time? So we're letting you do it if you want to. But hey, we're getting rid of the whole check-in thing, because that was a big issue for a lot of folks. I screwed that one up too, and I had them backwards. So you actually had to check out to check in. But it was just, there were a lot of folks who had never done it before, and I'm just like, nope, let's not even worry about that. If you want to change bodies of water, go ahead, but it needs to be a public body of water. That's the one thing. It does need to be a public body of water. It's going to be an absolute blast, and the prize payout structure is the same that it works for the multi-species scavenger hunt and the slot limit tournaments, meaning that we have first and second place until for the first 10 anglers. After we cross the threshold of 10 anglers, we add another payout spot. So the more anglers that we have enter this fundraising tournament, the more spots are going to be paying out. The ticket for this is $10 additional to what it normally is. And the reason is this. It's a $40 ticket versus the typical $30 ticket that we do. This ticket does a couple of things. We added the $10. That extra $10 is the donation that goes to BCRF. Now, if we can bring in some, sponsorship money from some brands that want to work with us and build that donation, or, like I said, running donations on the side, fantastic. That would be great. That's ultimately what our goal is. This is what's interesting, and this involves the Jigheads. So the slot limit tournament is happening on Saturday, October the 12th. Like I said, I was organizing a little trip with old Saint Nick, and Nick and I have this weekend planned from Friday the 11th into the 12th, the 13th, and then until Monday the 14th. Monday is a holiday. So what we're doing is a little just get together, a hang. Now, we invited a short list of folks, and there's a bunch of folks that aren't able to make it. For one reason or another, they've got stuff going on. They've already got plans, are not able to make it, which means that there are some seats available. And I think, what did I say? There were 7 or 8 spots that we have available right now. Some of these are camp spots where you can set up a tent, you can truck camp. Some of these are spaces in a cottage or a cabin that we already have reserved. So there are queen size beds available, there are twin size beds available, all kinds of stuff. And our Jigheads you guys are going to want to be paying attention to the Patreon feed this week. I'll be dropping information detailing what's available, and we'll have a comment thread going there, and I'll have contact information for Nick, so you can reach out and reserve your spot. Now, some of our jig heads have already, I've talked with some of the jig heads that I talk to on a regular basis, and they kind of already know like what's going on, and they're interested, but there are plenty of spaces left. So if you're a jig head who is, maybe you're in New England like where we are, we're going to be at Cayuga in upstate New York. It's not that long of a drive. It really isn't, but it's long enough to feel like a real trip. You know what I'm saying? You guys can jump in and get involved. If you're further away in the country and you want to make and send it, this is a great opportunity, because what's also going on this day, think about this as a little side quest, to quote Sean the Fisherman. It's like a little side quest here. What we have lined up for you is
Boats and Scroats 2, Electric Boogaloo.
What does that mean? Well, it means that we're going to make things very interesting for this tournament. So among the folks that are entered in the slot tournament at Cayuga, our group that's fishing, the ones who finish last will have to eat a sizable order of Rocky Mountain oysters. We're bringing them back. We're bringing them back. Your boy's going to have to go and pick up. I'm going to have to go to Adam's Farm up in my wife's old stomping ground, and I'm going to have to purchase somewhere between 8 and 12 pounds of fresh bull testicles. And I'm going to make nuggets, and we're going to have ourselves one hell of a time. I highly recommend everybody come out and give this a shot. I'll be there with my boat. I think the co-angler spot on my boat is already taken, but there are slips available. If you have a boat, you want to dock it, there are slips there. There's a little river that kind of runs into Cayuga. You just go up that river, boom, you're in the main lake. And the location where we are is like a hop, skip, and a jump from the ramp. So you're good to go, whether you're in a kayak, whether you have, a motorized vessel, whatever it is. Everybody can enter this. You can even bank fish this tournament if you want. It's totally up to you. But yeah, jig heads, we have a number of invites that will be available to our jig heads. So I would love to see you guys there. Not to mention, this isn't just an excuse for, us to get tricky to go out in the woods and eat balls. No, this is a opportunity just to have like a good old Jigs and Bigs hang, in the best of ways. Actually fishing out on the water, not just a live podcast recording or anything like that. We're obviously going to be doing a live recording. We're going to have a bunch of different content creators with us, so there's going to be a lot going on, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and I would love to see some of our jig heads there. So keep your eyes peeled on the Patreon. If you want a spot to get in, this is your opportunity. So it'll be good stuff. I think so. We had a blast last time we did Boats and Scroats, Joe. It was an absolute blast.
It was a good time.
Talk
for
about
sure.
Bringing people together, Yep.
I agree. We had an absolute blast, man.
Oh goodness. So I'll go, Joe, why don't you go ahead and jump in with your week, and then I'll get everybody caught up on my end.
Yeah, let's do it. So I had some training to do at work all week, so that went from Monday to Saturday. So I was completely tied up in that for the entire week. But this morning I woke up, got up with the dogs, and Meg's like, you know what? It's nice out. Go hook up the boat, go fishing.
Wow.
I was like, thank God. Because I was thinking it, but I was actually thinking of maybe going tomorrow instead. But now the weather's looking like it could be a little iffy.
Oh yeah.
So hooked up the boat, went to a local spot near me, right down the street from my house. Bobby knows the spot. Went in there and started to fish some. So there's a spot in this lake that's just a bunch of stump fields, root balls, just boulders, just a bunch of stuff in like 14 feet of water. That's where I've been kind of getting the best luck lately and the best quality of fish. Went in there, dude. I threw everything at them. I threw everything from a jig to a Nico rig to a Damiki rig to a shaky head. I mean, everything just in and around that structure.
And they just went into it.
nothing. So I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, okay. I got there kind of late. I didn't get there till like 10, but so I was like, okay, it's gonna be like this. So I go over to another spot that I enjoy, and really nothing in that spot either. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna run the bank, and then I kind of like stop for a second, and I like evaluate the situation. I'm like, okay. I was like, we're overcast. It's not fucking windy at all. I was like, I'm throwing the top water. I was like, I don't think anything's gonna come of it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna throw it. And dude, threw on that fucking, pulled my rod out with that Monster Bass Pop Max on it. First cast, blow up. Get hit by a fucking smallie. Third, fourth cast, another one. That one shook me off. And then, dude, it ended up being literally like every third, fourth cast, just same bait, top water. And went to it, you know, I just kept moving around the lake for some spots. I know that the smallies tend to stick around. And I just did that, dude, and I just started absolutely smashing them.
Really?
Just absolutely. It was like every third cast, dude. I was, you know, everything from fucking 12-inch fish to, you know, 2.5. I think the biggest one's probably, I would say around like 2.5 pounds. But yeah, dude, I was just smashing them on that. I didn't throw another bait the rest of the day. I just kept throwing that. Yep. And it was actually so I go to, you know, towards the where the buoys are, towards the boat ramp. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna zoom over there because I know I do pretty good over there because I know there's some structure, some rock walls, whatever, underwater, submerged. And so I zoom over there, and there's another boat there fishing. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, I'm kind of watching through the corner of my eye, you know, 3 guys in like a you know, tracker or something, like tracker bass boat. I'm like, okay, and they don't hit anything. So I'm like, perfect. So they're just slowly trolling out of there. As soon as they're out of there, I go over there, and so now they're probably like 30 yards away from me. I just kind of slid right in, and dude, first cast, 2.5 pound smallie right from the spot that they're just fishing on top water.
Really? Okay.
And, oh yeah, and then I end up catching. You know, it was like out of 5 casts, I probably caught 2, 3 fish. But yeah, so I probably ended up, dude, with like. I was only out there a few hours. I probably ended up with had to have been a dozen fish. And here's the caveat to the whole thing, dude. I didn't catch one largemouth. It was all smallies.
Dude, it's just like that some days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's not all smallies. And and even when the sun was shining, dude, they didn't care. They were smashing that top water. It was awesome. It was just I did a lot of I was doing a lot of live stuff on TikTok while doing it. Had kind of a funny blunder. I was actually they don't like save or anything. So I was so one of the fish I hook into, I like boat flip him in, and he like shakes himself off like right at the boat, you know, or right on the deck, and he's like flopping like right next to the gunnel. I'm like, oh shit. So I like step up to grab him. But as I do that, he like flopped towards me. I fucking punted him right into the water. It was just like the perfect storm. Like as I was like, fuck, and like stepping over there, he flopped towards me. Fucking booted him, dude. Fucking 3 points right through the uprights.
That's freaking awesome. Oh, Jesus.
And it was on TikTok. So Meg texted me. She's like, oh yeah, that was real fucking smooth.
That's awesome. She watches?
Oh yeah, she was watching
awesome,
it. And I was like, fuck. And that was my biggest one of the day too, which made it that much worse.
Yeah, of course.
But it was funny. So it was man, it was just crazy. Like so you think you were fishing under them, man. So the crazy part, Zach, is like where I was. It's you'll get smallies on occasion. Like this is. Where I was fishing under, you get smallies occasionally in this spot, but it's more of a largemouth spot that hang on that structure. Mm-hmm. Where I was getting the smallies is more of like, you know, rock, boulder stuff. So I don't know what was up with the largemouth. I think the smallmouth were just hanging a little more shallow around the rocks. And I don't know what the fuck the largemouth were doing there. I don't know. So, Zach, I have no fucking clue. That's it. That's the only thing I can think of. And but here was the other thing that was really weird.
Yep.
There was a shit ton of, I never identified them. I just know they weren't bass. Or I don't think that they were bass. I mean, they could have been like rock bass, crappie, bluegill. But dude, all day. I mean, when the sun was out, and we're talking up, I left there probably like not even. I left there probably 1:45, 1 o'clock. Dude, they were all like kept hitting it, like come up to the top, jumping out of the water and shit. It was weird. Just for like that time of the day, like sunshine, and it was just weird for those fish to be doing that. And that kind of threw me off. That kind of fucked me up a little bit. That's why I was like, I'm just gonna start throwing topwater. I don't think they were bass by any means, but it was just weird behavior to see there. I fish there constantly. It was just weird behavior to see there outside of like, that first hour, like after sunrise, you know what I mean? Or first 2 hours. But, so yeah, it was a great day. Caught a ton of fish and parked the boat and fucking just been kind of hanging and banging since then.
Not that bad of a day. No, not at all.
No, it really wasn't. So Zach, you're right. I did see, there's a shit ton of, and Bobby can attest to this, there's a shit ton of crappie in there. So like big crappie, like the current state catch and release record is out of there for crappie. So there, I did see bait busting a little bit, just not as much as like I would expect for the amount of fish that were up on the top. But yeah. That's it. That's all I got, dude. That's the only fishy shit I had for this week.
But it was a good one. Mine was a saga. It was rough.
Yeah?
So
let's hear it.
I Monday and Tuesday, I didn't get out at all, actually. Wednesday, I debated going out, but I actually had a lot going on. I don't know if you noticed. I cut like almost 3 inches off my beard.
I knew something was different.
Almost 3 inches. I was like, holy shit. I had a wedding to go to this weekend. My cousin Karen and her fiance JP tied the knot. So we were out actually in Dalton for a wedding up there. Well, we had such a great time. It was a blast. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to put my eggs in the basket of Thursday. Because, like, the conditions this week didn't look terrible. They really were pretty favorable. And Thursday just looked juicy. So we'll back up a little bit. As far as the scavenger hunt goes, I did have a yellow perch, a pickerel, a rock bass, a largemouth, that channel cat that I caught on a finesse swim bait, oddly. But I was missing pike and smallmouth and a variety of trout. And there's a bunch of stuff that I'm still missing. But I'm like, pike. Let's go get some pike. So I went up to Shears. Yeah. I went up to Shears to one of my favorite spots to go and fish for pike, and I go and I get in there, and first I sent it so early. Like I got there for first light. I was at the launch at first light.
Oh, that's the best.
Oh God, man, it's so nice, and it wasn't the first boat there either. Somebody beat me there.
That's
I think
crazy.
It was a local, and I'm like, all right.
I wish I did that more. I just hate waking up.
I know it's a challenge. So, but like what? Yeah. So what I did was I psyched myself out. Psyched myself up for it the night before. Like I was just like, yeah, I'm going pike fishing first thing in the morning. Blah 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 blah. I'm throwing some top water, going to make it happen. So I get out there, and we had more wind than I had anticipated for that early in the day. But we had great cloud cover. Really good cloud cover. So I'm like moving. Let's go ahead and do it. Loud, obnoxious, moving. Let's make it happen. Started out with that cornerstone walking bait, just looking to find fish. I do this a lot too, like with a buzzbait sometimes, where it's just more or less like I'm just going over weeds and looking for a strike. And once I find that strike, I'm going to lock down to that spot and I'm going to try and get bit. I couldn't get bit on this at all, and I had gone down this. It was this one area, this lake where I had fished with topless Timmy Jakes, and he actually had caught this giant, like a 34, 36 inch northern on a drop shot. Unbelievable fish. So he catches this thing,
awesome.
and I'm like, all right. So I'm gonna fish down in this area and see what we can come up with, because that was real productive last time. That was not the case this time. So I'm like, all right. I got a weird fucking phone call from Sean the fisherman. I don't know. You and I are gonna have to have a conversation. I might have already talked to you about this. It's not something I want to talk about on the show, though. Jigheads, you might be finding out shortly, but yeah, it's fucking super shitty and disgusting. But so yeah, Sean and I are like, my phone's blowing up and everything, and all this other shit. I go back to the ramp because apparently I had some unfinished business to handle. So I go over to the Porta-John, and yeah, I just got a feeling it was going to be a good fucking day. I go into this, and I was like, this has just been fucking serviced. And I sit down and I look on the fucking sheet where it's been serviced. It was serviced 15 minutes before I got in there.
Oh, man.
I could
Stars
hear,
just aligned, Bobby.
I could hear fucking Outkast playing, So Fresh and So Clean. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Pun intended. So I go back on the boat, right? We head out to this one area, and I'm in a whole other, this is like my comfort zone. I go out there. I'm like, okay, so let's see what we can put together. Now, they weren't hitting on topwater, so I'm like, I'm thinking chatterbaits and spinnerbaits. Let's go ahead and do it. Picasso, shock blade, just bomb cast, just like boom, as far out as I can go.
Yeah.
Working it back. Yeah. Got a pike to bite right before it hit the boat. And I'm like, I have to get it in my mind to just let these fish run a little bit. Take the chance instead of trying to flip them in. And that's what the problem is. It's a shitty hook set when it's that so close. Like, because this fish came from out of nowhere like a missile and hit that bait. And I was like, holy fuck. And I just completely like tripped over my own freaking ass. So I'm like, you motherfucker. And I have to get better about just like giving them the beans and just flipping them in the boat. Fuck the net. You know what I mean? Like if it's got to be that way, like especially when it's a fish like that, then I'm like, I know it's a species I need. God damn it. So I lose this, and it wasn't big. I mean, it was definitely under 20 inches. You know?
Yeah.
In this game, a pike is a pike. You know what I mean? As long as it's over 8 inches, that's all I need. So I miss out on this fish. I had a smallie hit same way. Missed this son of a bitch. This is what ended up happening to me that day. Like I said, we had more wind than I anticipated. My fucking trolling motor battery died. And I'll back, and it's not that like, oh, it was just, running so freaking crazy and I lost, No, it's because, so I think I mentioned this on a previous show. My wife and I, every couple of years, what we'll do is we'll rent a dumpster from one of these companies, pop that bitch in the driveway, and just purge the house of like all the stuff.
We do the same thing.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just got to do it. Well, I go and this dumpster is in our driveway, which basically means I can't get the boat out. So I made arrangements, right? I made arrangements to park my boat. Actually, I made two sets of arrangements. One over at Paul's place, and then another over at my sister's place. As this is just a backup, and so I was talking with Paul, and I dropped the boat off. This was, I guess, last Sunday. So yeah, a week ago. I had gone out Saturday. I had gone out Sunday, and I didn't even realize how low the battery was. I probably should have charged it on Sunday, to be perfectly honest with you. And it was my own fault, So, but there's something interesting about this. So I go and I drop the boat off. I pick it up that day. I'm like, I'm probably good. No sweat. Well, yeah, the wind is blowing all over the place. I'm trying to lock on a spot. Spot lock's keeping me there and working constantly. My trolling motor battery died. I was like, fuck. I was like, well, I'm going to motor out to the middle of the spot that I want to be in, kind of position myself the right way, kill the engine, and let the wind just push me back. And I'm like, this is fucking not working. Like, it's just, I'm constantly motoring back out. I'm like, just accept the fail, but I saw this as an
and then you're like all pissed off and shit because something's not working, so you're just annoyed and irritated, whether it's with the boat or at yourself. And
so I try to look at the silver lining, if there is one. Try to look at on the bright side. This gives me an opportunity to try something that I haven't had to try yet, but definitely wanted to. The back of my 4Runner has a 110 outlet, a 120 outlet right there.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about that.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity. I have at least an hour-long drive back home. Let's see what happens. Yeah. So what I did was I have an extension cord that I keep in the back waiting for this moment. I plugged that in. I left the rear window down, ran it out, and then plugged it into the boat. And then I took that extra slack and I wrapped it around the trolling motor just so that it would take the weight off. And I wrapped it around the trolling motor base, not the head where it's like bouncing all over the place.
Sure.
So I set all that up, and I go and I'm running my errands and stuff, and I make my way back home, and I go and drop the boat over at Paul's, and I go and I plug the trolling motor back in because I like to unplug my trolling motor when I'm charging. I don't know that there's necessarily a reason, but just force a habit because that way I plug the thing back in and I can check right away. And it got me 25% in an hour. Like, that's not terrible. It's really not. Like, if I was driving to like the Susky, I could do a full charge. You know, I really could. I could probably do a full charge. So I'm like, all right, son of a bitch. So that night I made the decision. It was Thursday night. I'm like, I call my wife before she leaves work, and I was like, listen, I know you say you don't want the boat parked in front of the house. I really don't want it in the front of the house, but I got to charge it because I'm going out tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm like, after today, it sucked. I'm like, I'm going out tomorrow. She's like, okay, no sweat. So I go and I pull up right in front of my street. I actually called my oldest daughter. I was like, hey, make sure your car's not parked in front of the house because I got to park there with the boat. So I pull up and I run that long extension cord I used to charge it in the backyard out the porch, out one of the windows, plug it in, left it there all night. Got home the next morning. I went to go fish with my buddy Jimmy. I did that video, Send Noobs. Jimmy and I went out. We went to fish the Oxbow in Connecticut River. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just meet you at the ramp, man. No sweat. We figured we'd start a little bit later. So I got there at like 8:30, launched the boat. On my way to trivia, actually, on Thursday night, I went and did a loop around the ramp. Holy fuck, that water is way lower than it was the last time I fished Oxbow. And that was this summer.
Is it like too low now? Like it went from being too high to too low?
It was too high. Now it's like normal.
Perfect.
Yeah. Now it's like normal. So like all of those signs that tell you like, hey, keep it under, 6 or no wake or anything like that were almost submerged last time I was there. Now you have all of that exposed. What do you call it? Like all that exposed vegetation and all the pads. And I'm like, I told Jimmy, I was like, fuck. I'm like, I need a pickerel. I need a pike. I go, so I said, I'm not sure what we should do, man. I go, I've never really gone out and fished the main river. And I'm like, I know it can get a little bit dicey, especially when water is low. I was like, let's go to the back of Oxbow and start, because that's where I'm most confident. Well, let's go in the back and start, see what happens. There's a bunch of weeds, a bunch of stuff that was underwater last time I was there. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Again, wind. We had some sun, but this water was like yoo-hoo. It was chocolate milk. So I'm throwing, again, a bladed jig, and I'm whipping this thing around, and I'm like, I just got to get noticed. And I did get a pike to bite and shook off right at the freaking boat. This was because it was all tangled up in weeds. This was a different animal. Yeah. This was like, it was just everything right but the fight type situation. And I'm like, all right, son of a bitch. So that was it. I tried a couple other presentations. There were some laydowns. I wanted to throw a jig around and then throw something a little bit more finessey to maybe catch like a white perch or I didn't need a rock bass, but like something like that. Open things up a little bit. Nothing. I tell Jimmy, I go, dude, let's just make a run as fast as we can back here. Or make a run to the main river, or we'll just see what happens. So we roll up. We're on our way by, and I'm gonna talk about the subjects of our FTG this week right now. Yes. We come up to a small bass boat. Okay, it's like a small tracker. In the middle of that channel that goes down into the Oxbow, like just past the ramp. We were about to go past them. There's a guy on the back casting deck who is fishing over to one side. And I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm going to have to go around the left, around this boat to get around them because they're in this one spot. As I go up around this way, and you can hear my motor coming, this dude takes a cast to the left. I pop the bitch in neutral and I just kind of like coast up. And the guy's like, as soon as I see his lure get out, I pop it back in gear and I start moving again. And I was like, hey, man, you don't mind if we get past you? And he's like, oh, as long as you can tell me where the fish are. And I was like,
of course, yeah.
I said a few things to Jimmy before we were within earshot of these guys. And he goes, Jimmy looks at me and he's like,
dude, is that how it works with fishermen?
And I go, what do you mean, Jimmy?
He goes, I mean, like, you go by these guys and you're super nice and friendly, but like 15 seconds ago, you were saying you wishes this guy died in his sleep.
And I'm like, yeah. Every fucking fisherman's like that.
Yeah.
The friendliest motherfucker to your face, but in the end, you're like,
get off my fucking numbers.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, that's just how it is. He's like, holy
100%.
shit. And he's like, that's kind of a weird flex in a way. I don't know. It's kind of, he's like, I don't know about fishermen. It's kind of weird. And I'm like, fishermen are weird. Trust me. We get out to the main river and there's a small marina up there. We go up this one way. And I'm like, I'm looking at the map as we're getting there. I go, there's a ledge, a little drop off that I think could pay off.
Yeah.
And boy, did it. Because we go over, and I was throwing around like a 3.3 inch Kitech.
Okay.
In a particular color with an additive to it to kind of make it a little bit fancy, and I was getting just absolutely freaking blown up, and I'm like, what is going on? A couple of times I reel back in, and my tail was entirely missing off this Kitech, and I was like, you motherfucker. Throw out the old trusty drop shot. Similar color, similar additive. But again, just a slower presentation. It was a bluegill. Right? I need a bluegill. I'll take a bluegill. At this point, I'm like, holy shit, my day is actually turning around, Jim. So I put this bluegill in the box. We go a little bit further. I switch gears again to this little presentation. I can move faster, that finesse swim bait.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing this around. I start laying into smallies. Little cookie cutter river smallmouth. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And I'm starting to figure out like about where they are. They were up really shallow. So we get up near this island.
That's what I was dealing with today.
Yeah. And I was like, we get up near this island and we see the guys because those dudes had passed us. They went upriver. And they're on one side of the river. And I'm like, Jimmy, I'm going to cut over to this side and see what happens. And we lit them up. Jimmy lost the biggest fish of the day. He was throwing around a what I would call a power Ned on that 7 foot medium heavy spinning combo that I have. And he had easily the biggest. He was like, dude, something's happening. Oh my God. And he's reeling this in and I hear the splash. I was hooked up. So I was handling a fish and I was like, holy shit. I look over, I see this splash. This was easily 16, 17 inch smallie. Easily. Thrash around like crazy. And I told him the same thing, the Chad Hoover, words of advice. I was like, dude, you did everything right but the fight. I'm like, that's good. Take that, what you did, and just do it again. Try to recreate it. And he's like, oh, all right. So he's kind of starting to get on it and everything. Well, he goes and I think he had a couple other bites, wasn't able to connect. In total, I think I put 6 or 7 smallies in the boat. I boxed 3 of them. Yeah. I was like, well, if these are all about the same size, this is stupid. But then I laid into one that was pretty good size, like 13 and a half. I was like, all right, that was the biggest all day. I'm like, I'll take that. And then I got bit on that swim bait again. This was a different kind of bite. This felt totally different. It was an absolute tank of a bluegill. So I just let that bluegill go, did a little swapperoo. And basically, all these fish were caught like all in his one area. And I'm like, I'm going to measure these fish all together, just get them done, and then I'm going to release them. And Jimmy was just like, what the fuck? This is great. He's never seen anything like this, flopping around. So he had never seen this. So he was like, that's fucking wild. He's like, so you just upload those pictures and that's how you enter the tournament? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's super easy. It's just you have to make sure that everybody's using the same board, for it to be legit. So he's like, dude, that is fucking crazy. He's like, I'm all about that. That's great. We decided to call it a day. We start heading back in, load up the boat. I go to work the next day. I didn't fish on Saturday. Like I said, I had that wedding. And that was a day where we had done a lot of the heavy lifting for some of the stuff we were throwing out. Like we're throwing out like pieces of furniture and shit like that. It sucks in my city to get rid of that stuff. Like you can leave it on the side of the road and maybe somebody will take it, but like it's a crapshoot. So we're like, we're gonna pop this sucker into the dumpster, and we did all that shit. And my plan was to go out on Sunday, which my wife discovered I was planning on fishing on Sunday at the wedding. After a few drinks, that was hilarious. And I went out today. I decided I would go out because again, I needed smallmouth. I got the smallmouth. I needed sunfish. I got the sunfish. I needed like all the trout, a white perch. A bullhead. There's so much that I could have used. And I went out today, and I went out specifically to record some content for showing off the Yak Attack upgrades on the boat, and like the whole kayak world, big boat world coming together, like that whole symbiotic relationship. And then do a little bit of fishing. I went and I started getting some drone footage, just making some casts. I did catch a pickerel. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's see what happens. I got a couple of follows on the same bait. I'm like, all right, this is a good feeling. Just to see if I could get them to bite any better or not, I changed colors of the plastic I was throwing. Did not make a difference. I actually caught in total 4 pickerel. The biggest one, I don't even want to call this a chain pickerel. I want to call it a
chode pickerel.
Because when I felt the weight of this fish while I'm fighting it, and again, this fish, I don't understand why he was where he was. He was in such deep water. I was looking for brown trout. He was in such deep water. Hit this, and I'm pulling him, and there's just drag, just screaming. Like, I get him up to the boat, and I'm like, this fish is enormous. And I mean, when I say, like, thick boy, just like, boom.
Yeah.
Shorter than the pickerel I already entered. Like a chode, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I this pickerel absolutely choked this this jig. So I have the fish grips on, and I've got the long pliers, and get this out, and he starts bleeding a little bit, but I'm like, we'll see what we can do. And I'm like, he's not swimming down. I'm like, motherfucker. I gotta learn how to fizz some fish, dude. Because I like fishing deep water. I do not like killing fish. So I take I kneel down, I grab the fish's tail, and I start trying to revive him. Like, come on, buddy. And he just kicks off. And I'm like, yes. And he gets down like 10 feet. Comes right back up. Like, you piece of shit. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You know, and we talked about fizzing fish, and somebody had messaged me. I forget the company that makes it, but this like fish grip with like a weight on it that you tie to a line, and you just send them right back down and then yank it off.
Oh,
of them. I'm like, no, this is like a legit thing. I thought that was like some like redneckery, like, you know, backward ass engineering, like something like that. No, this is like a legitimate thing. So that's something I could look into. I just need to take the time and figure out how to fizz some fish. Yeah, Metal Jones says, I got a link for you, Bobby. This is a great video incoming. Beautiful, man. I need it, you know, and I want to have the tools on the boat. I don't mind because this one specific lake has a lot of birds of prey, and I was gifted the ability to see nature in its most savage and yet beautiful ways of occurring. So I was like, good on you. This was a huge fucking bird.
Which one was it? Was it the osprey or the eagle?
It was the eagle.
They're both there.
It was the eagle.
It was the eagle?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. Just huge. Yeah. And I was like, because that's what I was thinking.
They're both there.
I'm like, I don't know if this is going to get eaten because this is a big fish. But nope, the eagle came down and was like, the eagle is mutual. That's it.
Dude, that's one body of water you go to. And if, like, obviously you don't want that to happen with the fish.
Of course,
if it does, it's not going to go to waste. And it won't take long for them to find it.
Yeah, it was like 15 minutes. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. Like this fish, like, and I'll give this pickerel some credit. He tried so hard to like, and I'm like, I just like, I don't want to just go stabbing the, because like I have a knife on board, you know what I mean? But I don't want to just start stabbing the fish's abdomen and go like, where's the fucking bladder? Where's the bladder, Lebowski? Where's the fucking swim bladder, Lebowski? You know?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So I'm like, let's just not fucking do that. So yeah, I'm gonna learn how to do this and fucking handle my shit, but it was fucking wild. I did hook into, I got a number of bites super deep, just dragging the swim bait along the bottom. These were bluegill. I know this because I followed up with my drop shot, and I was able to hook multiple ones right in that spot. Right. And they were decent size. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. But again, nothing like I caught on the Connecticut River. Nothing like I caught there.
Yeah.
So I go ahead and I release all these fish, and I'm like, all right, I caught one largemouth while I was out there. That was cool. And then something fucking weird happened, man. And I don't want to put this one in the FTG because I think the other one makes actually even more sense. But this was just fucking weird. So where I'm fishing, I'm not far from the ramp, and I see like bass boats like coming up and like just kind of like chilling, not docking, but just chilling off of the ramp. And there's, you know, a boat on the beach, there's a boat over here, like, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna keep fishing until I see my opportunity. So I see my opportunity, I go over, I go to the dock, I tie off to the dock, I jump on the dock, I run over, I grab my truck. There's a guy at this one spot that I'm talking about, there's a staging area right next to the ramp. There's a dude that's in there that's staging his boat, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to beat him, or I wonder if he's going to drop in before me. Not that it matters, but I'm like, you know, we'll see what happens. So I get in there, and he is in his boat, like in that staging area. He's like organizing tackle and shit, and I'm like, I got time. I back in, probably the smoothest back in into this launch, which is absolutely fucked up. But I back this sucker in.
That is a fucked up launch.
It totally is. And I've done it now. This is like my 5th or 6th time with this boat trailer doing it. Now I'm like, all right, cool. Just boom, right. Land in there, jump out of the truck, jump up on the dock, run over to my boat, go over. And as I'm motoring over, this guy comes over, and he looks kind of like Gilligan. Like he's wearing the Gilligan-y kind of hat. And he comes over, and as I go over, he grabs my strap and my carabiner for my trailer and goes to like crank me in, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm gonna help you. I'm like, I don't need your help, I'm good, man, it's all good, watch out. I load the boat, I get out, and he's like, oh yeah. And at first I thought he was just being a douche because he was in the staging area and I just zipped down to load out. And I'm like, is he ready? And this is his way of going like, you got to get out of here fast. I wasn't sure exactly how to read this. So Joe, have you run into this at all? With like, someone's like, I'm going to help you out. I'm like, number one, don't touch my fucking trailer.
Yeah. I have had people ask. The answer's always no.
Yeah.
Because, you know, just like you, like I have a system, and let me if for some reason, whether it's fucking there's some kind of crazy chop going on, or the ramp's fucked up and I can't get my bow over the roller or something, then cool, maybe I'll ask for your help. Sure. But otherwise, stay the fuck away from my trailer. Like, I have a system. I wouldn't go fishing by myself if I couldn't do it.
That's exactly it. The thing that I was thinking of was like this. If something were to happen, right? Well, so there's twofold. First off, if this dude decides like, I'm going to help you, and then he slips on the fucking slippery ramp and hits his head on my trailer, like, I don't want to fucking deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because shit can happen if he falls just in general and like loses his keys. I don't know. You know, if something happened, like, no, this is my fucking disaster to deal with. Don't worry about you, you know? The other thing is this, like, I have my way of doing things, and if he helps me, I promise you it's going to take me longer to leave. Because I'm going to double check that safety chain.
Yep.
I'm like,
because it's like, I'm sure you're the same way. Like, I have a system. Like, I start because, you know, you got to fucking your safety chain, your strap, your locks.
Yeah.
And you go around, you got to strap down the trolling motor. You keep going down. You got to put the transom saver on to, like, you know, take the plug out. Yeah. Strap it to the trailer. And like, if I feel like, if like someone like fucks with my groove, like I'm gonna forget something.
Yeah. You know how,
and then
it's like a 50-50 shot. Is Bobby going to be on the side of the road double checking shit? Because somebody, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, it doesn't even have to be somebody else. It could be me. And I'm like, did I remember to do this? And I did.
Yeah.
You know, because I walked through everything. But I'm like, no. Don't touch my shit. And I was like, the fucking Gilligan hat. It's all I could think of. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah, it's funny because even like Meg, even when Meg comes with me, dude, she knows, like, I'm just gonna step aside and just watch you, let you do your thing.
It's the best way to do it.
And like, the only thing that I might get from her, like that I might have her do, is, hey, back me in. Like, I'll line it to where like I'm already kind of in the water.
Yep.
But I'll be like, just back me in, so I can come off. I was like, but then don't pull up anywhere. You don't know how to drive that shit. Like, don't put into a spot. But
I am trying to get there with Holly. Like having her just back in it. You know, I'm trying to get there. I think that would be absolutely amazing. This is so Metal Jones chimes in. He says, once at Lake Arthur, a very, 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 that's 3 veries, good-looking woman offered to help me with my canoe. The standard, nah, I got it, answer was on my lips. I thought better of it and said, sure. Sometimes a yes to help is a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? 100%.
Yeah, well, Zach, that hasn't happened to me.
No.
Okay?
No.
So I get the crackheads and the old guys, all right?
And Gilligan was both. A crackheaded old guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, God.
So let me ask you this. Was he in like an old, I want to say it's an Alumacraft with a white Evinrude on the back. And sometimes he has them, sometimes he doesn't have like old school, like manual downriggers on the side.
No, he didn't have any downriggers on here. This was an old boat.
Because sometimes he had, it might be, and I've never interacted with him, but the hat caught me.
Yeah.
That when you told me he has that hat, because I've seen that guy around, if it's a guy I'm thinking of, but like, so
he did have a bunch of people with him, like a noticeable, like more people than there were available seats on this boat. And it made me wonder if he was taking them out
for a 3-hour tour.
You know? Exactly. I'm like, it's so many of our listeners are going to be like,
huh?
I was like,
no idea.
You got to be kidding me, man. Yeah, I was just that did grind the hell out of my gears.
It's crazy because like it's tough. So then you don't know how to approach it because the dude like probably is just generally like a super nice guy and like just like, oh, this guy's by himself. Let me give him a hand. And so you might approach it as kind of like abrasive, which I have done, and I'm like,
oh, for sure,
fuck, I was kind of a dick.
And actually, I kind of wish you were there, like just like listening in, because the way I was like,
what are you doing?
It was like you weren't sure if I was being a complete piece of shit or if I was being genuine. Hey, what's going on? Because that's the thing. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, this guy is pissed because I was like, okay, I'm backing in. Boom, I'm getting out of here. But like again, like if that was the case, do not offer any help because I promise it will take me longer than if you just let me do what I got to do and get out of here. Because especially pulling off the ramp, I am like lightning fast. As soon as basically. So I've got a bunk trailer, and everybody from the Lund community is like, with a bunk trailer, you want to put these bunks in so they're covered X amount by water, and then you go in and you power load that bitch on. I climb over, get off the trailer. I hitch my strap on and I just crank that sucker in, put the safety chain in, and I'm in the truck and I'm out.
Yeah.
And with this specific situation, now having like the new rod holders and stuff, because normally what I do is I would go to the dock and I put everything away. I am that annoying asshole. Like I'll go to the dock on the opposite side of the ramp And I'll go through and take everything, as long as it's not crazy busy or anything. Otherwise, I'll just put the boat in spot lock and do it out there. Get my rods together, put my tackle away, put everything away. This time I had a plan. I'm like, well, I'm going to do this in the parking lot. Like, I'm just going to get the boat out of here because I know that there's other wreck boats and shit that are going to be coming anyway. Let's just get out of here. So that's what I did. Was as soon as I was hooked up to the trailer, I was up and out in the parking lot, loading up. Everything's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, just bananas, man. But yeah, it was a wild it was a wild day. I just couldn't catch the right ones.
Yeah. It's funny. Oh, you're familiar with the place I was at. So I actually had, in how small the parking area is or whatever, I actually had to park on the street because there was three fucking cars there with no trailer or anything taking up fucking spots. I was like, these motherfuckers, dude. Like, no, it's like, I don't know. But like the guy across the street like took away a bunch of parking and whatever. But it's like I drove by to get to see, like, and I was like, fuck. I was like, I'll go grab a coffee. Maybe they'll be gone. They weren't, so.
Calling the cops, smiting good Samaritans. Holy hell, Bobby. Good Lord.
So yeah, sounds like a good week, dude.
Yeah,
it
was.
Good week of fishing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's a lot more fishing in my week ahead, so.
I think so. I mean,
I might
we still have, I still have a good chunk of next week that I can get out and find some of these off species that I need. Really, I have until Sunday. Sunday's September 1st. Damn.
Yeah, dude.
Son.
It's going by fucking fast.
It really, really is. Oh, and it's a long weekend on next weekend too.
Yes, it is.
Good to know. All right, so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it fairly hard. I've got some meetings. This is weird. This is the busiest part of 2024 for private events for me. I have so many weddings and stuff lined up.
Yeah.
And I'm all about it. I'm definitely, in fact, oddly enough, even like late fall, I've been getting a lot of inquiries. People are asking like, oh, are you available for such and such wedding, like a smaller wedding or something? I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. So I'm trying to rack it up as much as possible. I do want to throw this out there too, Joe, because this does affect Jigs and Bigs. I had a venue reach out to me about doing trivia, a sixth night, and they are interested in Sunday evenings. So I told them, here's what my price is. And they still want to talk.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Fucking figure it out, dude. That's way more important than...
Well, the beauty of it is that this could buy me wiggle room to be able to bank some hours of trivia and then take some time off for some of these other trips that I want to do. So this could be a very good thing, like big picture. I haven't done... I don't think I've ever done 6 days a week for trivia. It's a lot. But I mean, I love it, and I mean, I'm happy doing 5. I think 6 would be. Actually, I think my Monday game would be even better if I got that Sunday in there. But that means that Saturday is going to be straight fishing. Just send it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And then if I have an event on that Sunday or something, well, or on that, what am I saying? On that Saturday, it's going to be, I have no issue taking the majority of the day, getting off the water, running my nasty ass through the shower, and then going to host trivia. In fact, if I show up at trivia and I've got fish stories for you, they know it's going to be a good game. I'm in high spirits. Perfect. Everybody's happy. They're like, oh, yeah, perfect. Bobby caught some fish today. He's good. His mental health is okay.
Even better.
I love it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I love it. How are we doing for headlines this week? We got anything to go over?
Hit the music, Bobby.
Yes.
All right, so we got a couple stories today, and then we have a little I guess like an open forum for our jigheads and between Bobby and I talking about that second story a little bit. Make it quick. It's not going to be long, but it's just kind of like, what do you think? What do I think? What do the jigheads think? So, all right. So first story here, Missouri man arrested for allegedly shooting at 2 anglers who fished too close to his dock. So The man who later failed a breathalyzer test told authorities he had fired his .22 rifle to scare away some raccoons. An intoxicated man wielding a .22 rifle was arrested Tuesday for allegedly shooting at a pair of anglers who were fishing from a boat on a Missouri lake. The two fishermen told authorities the man, later identified as Levi James Coates, sounds like someone who tries to assassinate a president or something like. Oh, that was too soon. Too soon. I didn't even think of that one. Too soon.
Wow.
But yeah, he sounds like a serial killer or somebody who the feds are looking for. So yeah, later
Or
he yelled at them
male
for coming.
with cats.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So a buddy of mine sent me a video the other day of it was like one of those like my pronouns are like they them.
Okay.
And they were like we heard you like fishing. He's like, oh yeah. He's like I'm actually a fairly good fisher them. And he kept saying that, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, my buddy sent me the video. It's like, oh my God. But anyway, we're off topic here. So the man later identified as Levi James Coates yelled at them for coming too close to his dock and then took aim and fired his rifle into their direction.
Oh.
Coates was arrested, obviously, and charged with multiple felonies. According to court documents filed in Camden County obtained by Outdoor Life. The incident occurred Tuesday on Lake of the Ozarks near the village of Sunrise Beach. It surprises me less now that I know it's the Lake of the Ozarks. The Camden County Sheriff's Office received a 911. Jesus, where the fuck is my mind today? A 911 call at 9:04 p.m. from one of the anglers on the boat, who reported that they'd already been threatened by the man. The anglers told the deputy that the man fired a shot at them while they were waiting on hold for the 911 operator. He stated that we were fishing in the cove for catfish when a man across the cove started yelling and threatening to shoot us if we got any closer to his dock. One of the victims told Camden County Sheriff's, David Shoemaker. Court documents show at one point, I looked back over at the house to see a man aiming a gun.
Oh, God.
And this was located, and he was located between the house and a car. After seeing this, the other angler and I both crouched down behind the walls of the boat, and then minutes later, a shot was fired while the other angler was on hold with Camden County. Shoemaker responded to the scene at 9:19 p.m. to find Coates with a .22 caliber rifle next to him. Coates appeared to be camping outside the residence with a tent and a campfire, so it wasn't actually even his dock, apparently. During questioning, Coates admitted to shooting into the water, but claimed he didn't see any boats in the area. Shooting raccoons. Mr. Coates claimed that he was shooting to scare away raccoons so they would not enter his tent. Mr. Coates was asked why he did not shoot the raccoons instead, and stated he could not see the raccoons. Coates was then booked in the Camden County Jail, where he took a preliminary breathalyzer test that came back positive for intoxicants. No shit. He also admitted that he had been drinking that evening. Coates now faces 4 felony charges, including unlawful use of a weapon, armed criminal action, and 2 counts of first-degree attempted assault. He has entered a plea of not guilty and requested a public defender. His bond was set at $100,000, and court documents also show that in 2022, Coates pleaded guilty to indecent exposure in Texas County, Missouri, and was fined. So at least, I mean, there's always a silver lining. At least he wasn't shooting at him with his dick out or anything like that.
That could have been worse, yeah. That's insult to injury.
So I don't know. There's a YouTube video floating out there from like a couple years ago, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, where 2 anglers they're on a boat, a bass boat, and a fucking bullet hits their boat, and he's yelling onto the shore. Yeah, he's like yelling onto the shore and shit, and he's like, hey, you just shot my fucking boat or something like that. They're like, nah, man, we shot the tree. We're just shooting the trees. Yeah, so you gotta look for that, Bob. It's out there. It's a few years old, but all right. So that's our first story of degenerates in Missouri. Let me close this and get to the next one. So we touched on what?
New segment of the show.
DIM, Degenerates in Missouri.
I like it. I bet you we could find plenty of stories too. It could probably go 2 or 3 years straight.
Probably.
So we touched a little bit on this one. Oh man, my internet's laggy today. Fucking North Brookfield, dude. So we're gonna talk. We talked a little bit about this last week, but I wanted to read the story and then do a quick 2-minute fucking, like, you and I'll talk. Everyone wants to plug in.
Yeah.
Bassmaster Elite Series rookie disqualified for failing a polygraph test.
I heard about this.
So, with the Rookie of the Year on the line, JT Tompkins failed a truth verification exam and was disqualified from this season's last tournament. The 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series wrote its final chapter Sunday when Corey Johnson hoisted the Big Blue Trophy over his head at the St. Lawrence River in New York. Just 24 hours prior, his brother, Chris Johnston, hoisted the coveted Angler of the Year trophy. It was undoubtedly a great weekend for the Canadian duo, but their victories were overshadowed by controversy surrounding other competitors among the Elite Series rookie class. Elite Series rookie Trey McKinney became the youngest rookie of the year. Elite Series rookie Trey McKinney became the youngest rookie of the year, winning it in history Saturday. It's hard to argue that McKinney didn't earn his ROI title. And if not for a slip-up on Smith Lake, he may have even run blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's get back into this. So both McKinney and Tompkins had incredible first seasons on the tour, but have faced quite a bit of backlash from some fans for their vast usage of forward-facing sonar, blah, 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 blah. Let's scroll down to the disqualification. So on August 16th, Bassmaster published a press release on its website informing fans that JT Tompkins was disqualified from the final event, and I quote, for failure to pass a truth verification examination.
Yeah.
The polygraph was administered during the event on Friday, reportedly due to a protest from another competitor pertaining to Rule C3IIA and Rule C3XIV. In these rules, the first one there states anglers cannot gather waypoints or specific fishing locations, creeks, rivers, areas of the lake, etc. from any source that is not publicly available. And then the next one was during competition days, anglers may not log onto websites or participate in social media with the intent of gaining a competitive advantage. Bassmaster did not provide any details surrounding any specific rules Tompkins may have violated, or whether there is any proof to support his DQ beyond the results of the truth verification, which may have included more criteria than just the polygraph. But the result of the disqualification was that Tompkins would receive 0 points toward AOI or ROI standings. This left Trey McKinney back on top of the race, where he remained and then crowned ROI on Saturday. So it kind of goes on to a little bit more stuff that we really don't need to talk about. Just kind of about more ROI stuff. But so with that being said, and it doesn't say here, but what I've heard was, we all know we're talking BASS, the Elite Series.
Yep.
What I heard, the rumor on the street is he reached out to one of the MLF officials, which MLF was there the week before them.
Oh, okay.
And he had reached out to an MLF official about some kind of spots or waypoints or something like that, allegedly. So with that being said, how accurate do you think a polygraph is, Bobby?
That's the thing. I don't think that it's very accurate at all, man. I think the fact that they rely on that as like you have to pass it is kind of it's kind of a loaded gun in a way, because I think there is just so much as far as a polygraph that can go wrong. Either it can be tricked, and somebody can get away with, falsifying their information, or it can go, the other way. Somebody is just nervous as shit and they end up failing it, and it's not for any, actual reason. I think when it comes to tournament bass fishing, like, dude, it sucks, but you like, some of these rules are just not realistic to enforce, I mean, I would have to assume. I'm going to go ahead and mention this. Javi asked what happened to Joe's camera. Joe's internet is is slow AF. Yeah, keep it going. His computer just went off. Oh, he'll be back. He'll be back. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. I think that when you're putting all your eggs in that one basket and you have some of these rules that in some ways, like maybe they can be like left up to interpretation, let's say. Like specifically, I'm thinking about that utilizing social media to gain access or to gain, waypoints or anything like that. It's just one of those things where I think that, I mean, there's a lot of gray area with some of those rules. And if somebody just is like, yeah, well, I wasn't looking for waypoints, and was checking my Facebook or whatever, I mean, I just don't think it's a reliable tactic. There he goes. Joe is here. I'm just waiting for his devices to connect, everybody. And I'll reiterate this for Joe because I know that he's missed out on this. This is wild. What do you guys think? While we're thinking about this in the chat, Jigheads, what do you think? Are polygraphs a reasonable meter? Is it one of these things where, well, we have to use it because it's the only kind of technology that we've got for that type of, usage when you're questioning somebody about something? What do you guys think? Go ahead and give us some information. I think personally that polygraphs are, most times, I feel like the threat of a polygraph is generally what is the biggest, has more impact. Like, oh, you might have to take a polygraph, and people generally, the majority of folks are like, oh shit, I don't want to do that because what if I'm nervous and I fail or something happens? So they just, kind of use that as a way to keep people in check. But there are folks that are on the fringe that'll try to get away with it. Zach chimes in and goes, the dude that did MLF or BASS polygraph test for years quit because he wasn't okay with what they were asking him to do and how they were asking him to do it. I remember this coming up before, Zach, actually. I think you might have brought this up the initial time that we talked about that because, yeah, I believe he was just like, nope, this is basically essentially in more words than this, this is fucked up. I don't want anything to do with this. And just kind of walked away. Because, you can get polygraph tests, on your phone, like an app, Avi says waterboard them instead. I mean, maybe that was a little bit harsh. maybe that's a bit harsh. But, something would definitely help. Something would definitely help. There we go, Joe. Your audio is set to your speakers. Not your headphones. Or your mic. You guys are...
Dude, I don't know what happened. Everything just went black in here. Do you
have a power outage?
No, so I think there is something going on with this power cord for this computer. This is actually Meg's. It's not mine. So I think my computer actually, I think it died while we were recording.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so it's there's so much stuff going on this fucking, with the lights and the camera and everything. So that's all.
That's all. It's like that little multi-tap 110 unit on Christmas Vacation under the trees. It's like,
yeah,
it's just about to go.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right.
But so, yeah, what I was basically saying was, I think that when it comes to polygraph tests, that maybe there's so much gray area in the rules that I just don't trust that that's the end all be all decision maker necessarily.
Yeah, I agree. And what I was before, my little hiccup here, actually had some information that I was about to read off. So,
all right.
So basically what they say is they state that a polygraph is 88 to 98% accurate. However, that is in absolute perfect conditions, which you never have.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Even when you have the absolute perfect conditions, it's still, it's still not good. You know what I mean? It's still not, so yeah, there's gotta be I get there's such a I guess almost like a stigma with polygraphs. This is how you find out the truth. And it's man,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
I get it. Like, it can be tough because, like, you need something to be that, like, nope, it's got to pass this. And if that's the best you have, we do have a couple of comments that came in. Zach had mentioned that the dude that did either MLF or BASS polygraph test for years quit because he wasn't okay with what they were asking him to do and how they were asking him to do it. Javi came up with a solution. Instead of a polygraph, he says, waterboard them instead. Which I think, could be, good training, for when things go wrong on the boat.
I promise they'll tell the truth if you do that to them.
They will tell the truth. Yeah, absolutely. Tim Behem
I promise.
says, to me, those tests are 50-50. I agree 100%. Now, 50-50 either way, Zach chimes in. He goes, I'd like to see computers cleared of waypoints prior to official practice days.
I'm 50-50 with that because so on these big, like, if I go down to Hartwell next week, I have it's such a big body of water.
Yeah.
Like I have my waypoints from last year.
Yeah.
I would never remember how to because I don't fish it a lot. I would never know how to get to those fucking spots where I caught all this fish
and also like, just the technology, like, come on, save all your waypoints to an SD card and then put it in your pocket and go like, oh, nothing on here. I don't know what you're talking about. And then load them the fuck back up. Like, it's not fucking hard to bullshit your way through this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He goes, that solves all of that. And then he goes, Bobby sounds like a goddamn right. It is. I just think with polygraphs, it's like it's a gamble,
Yeah, and dude, and all the big series use them. Like I've had to sign several papers saying that, like, hey, I have to be okay with a polygraph if they come up to me. Like, literally, they tell you at the end of, they're like, okay, until the tournament ends at this time, until that time, have your phone on ready to answer in case you got to come down for a fucking polygraph.
Yeah. I would think that realistically, now again, I don't compete in tournaments, but I think that, and this is just my extreme, like, fuck everything mentality. Let it all fucking go. Whatever. Oh, you want to reach out to people for fucking waypoints? Awesome. Everybody else in the playing field that you're up against has the same opportunity. Good luck.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like
fuck them all, Bobby.
Everybody has the same opportunity to use the same technology that's available to them. It's like, whatever. Like, let's not fucking bullshit anybody here, Like, I think when I think of cheating in like bass tournaments and shit like that, it's not fucking waypoints and knowledge. It's fucking building a cage and putting a bunch of fucking 5-pounders in it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And the problem is dude, is like, I fished the St. Lawrence River this year. Like, it's a huge body of water, but guess what, dude? That one waypoint, I bet you 500 people across the area in the country or whatever have that fucking waypoint. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. But I get it.
Zach says, first off, you have to have a certified and qualified tester, both the person and the machine. Second, you can't be doing these tests at a park bench in a pavilion or the back of a truck or a parking lot. No, and that's the thing. I feel like an organization like MLF or BASS is doing the right thing, and they're getting a trailer, and they're setting it up with somebody who's supposed to run the stuff, and they're doing it legitimately. Yeah. But again, like, I just feel like it's such common knowledge that if you pucker your asshole while you're having one of these polygraph tests, you're going to pass. And it might be that you're going to pass because the test comes back inconclusive, but you're going to pass. I mean, hey, whatever it is, that's what it is. I don't know.
He should have just puckered his asshole.
Should have just puckered his tush. What are you doing, buddy?
Yep.
Jesus
so
Christ.
Cool. Good little quick conversation. I think we draw up and what we got next?
Freaking party on, man. Do we have any other headlines or is that it? I think
that's it, dude. That was it. It was those two. Yep.
Let's take a super quick break, and when we come back, we have a Just a Tip this week, which again, you guys in our Jigheads have been throwing some information in the chat regarding with all this, And then we'll do some other good shit. It'll be an FTG for you that you're not going to want to miss out on. We'll go ahead and do that. I love it. Before I throw the break, though, I do want to say this. Metal Jones says, I disagree wholeheartedly. The athleticism in fishing is at least 50% mental. I want to see real athletes. Fair enough, but do you want to see cheats? If you pull the floor out of the cheats and you make it an even playing field for everybody, I think you're basically just using a study guide before the test. That's the way I look at it. But again, we'll take a short break, guys. Don't go too far. We have more Jigs and Bigs coming up after this. We'll see you in a bit. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form podcast content. We need to thank Dark Horse Tackle, Omnia Fishing, A-Bay Lure, The Bay House, and The Ship Motel. We can't forget about Three Bells Outfitters, Torres Sunglasses, and of course, Reaction Tackle. Be sure to check the description of this podcast for any associated affiliate links or promo codes they've generously provided our listening audience. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for just the tip or bait of the week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Bobby, it's almost as if like Just the Tip is like being raised from the dead. It's been a minute.
It has. It's been at least a few weeks since we've had
a
Just the Tip segment. And I feel like this is a good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one because it kind of like it's something that I've always had a like huge philosophy of, but just like remembered it today. And we're going to talk Topwater real quick.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people get into the mindset that Topwater is only for the early morning and then the evening.
Yep.
It is not.
No, it's definitely not.
Topwater. Just like today. It's just, sometimes it's just that day. Throw the Topwater no matter how sunny it is out, no matter what time it is. The depth, anything. There's going to be those days where they're going to bite no matter what. Like today. I found them. It was sunny out. There's at one point where there's a little bit of chop on the water, and it was like every third cast I was getting hit on that popper. And here's the crazy part is some of them were in 2 feet of water. Some of them were in 12 feet of water.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, and I had it, I might have it on my GoPro, which is cool because I'll make sure I put that up on Instagram. There was one that because I could still watch on my live scope. I could still, I could see my Topwater. I watched one of these fish come up like a torpedo out of 12 feet of water and just smash it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it was, so there, it's throw that top water all day long. Don't get in the if they are hitting it, it's not like, oh shit, all right, well, it's 9 o'clock, better put this away. If they're hitting it, continue to use it.
I agree, dude, wholeheartedly. If they're hitting it, yes.
If it's overcast, it's, I'll be honest, like, if it's sunny out and it's super choppy, it's probably not good. If nothing else hitting, top water is probably not the answer.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't matter if it's 9 in the morning. It doesn't matter if it's noontime. Doesn't matter if it's 2 p.m., 3 p.m., whatever. That perfect condition where that little bit calmer water, even maybe a little bit of chop, maybe a little bit of cloud cover, but the sun will come out even if the sun's popping out. If you're try it. Nothing beats a top water bite. Nothing beats that adrenaline when those things come out and hit that. Don't get in that mindset of it's only going to work in the morning and the evening. If you want to throw it. Just throw it.
I agree with this on multiple levels. Like we've had a number of guests on the show who have said this, and I think this is a good thing, where they're just like, you're not going to catch any fish if you don't like throwing what you're throwing. So just throw what you like to throw. And I agree with that wholeheartly. I really do. And if that means, if you're like, I want to throw top water or, whatever the reason is for it. I think, and I think maybe sometimes it comes across like I'm one of those people who are just like, oh, it's dawn or it's dusk and that's what we want.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, like, to anybody who's got that mentality, it's that the likelihood that bite is going to work will be better at those times than later in the day, but they still have to be hitting that top water, Yeah. And I do think that there is something to be said. Like, if you throw a top water bait in a foot or less of water, it's one water column. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But if you throw it in 10 feet of water and they're hitting it, yes, that's a different, that says a lot,
Yeah.
And
it was crazy because, and really why I say this is like, I had like an epiphany moment and I'm just like standing there. I'm like, fuck, dude, like I know this body of water like the back of my hand. I go there all the time and I typically do very, very well there. And I'm like, granted, I didn't start until 10 in the morning and I was like, they're just not fucking hitting anything. What is going on? And I was like, it was like one of those, like the light bulbs. I was like, no way. Like, there's no way this will work. I throw it in there, first cast. I was like, you got to be shitting me. You know what I mean? And then just lit them up the rest of the time I was there. So, especially like in the falls, it starts to cool down a little bit better. They say they hit, top water. They can hit top water all day long. Another one people don't realize is when it is hot out, and you're kind of having a tough time, the bite's slow. A lot of people have good luck throwing, especially in around weeds or whatever, throwing them into like shade and shit, like up against the bank and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, throw the top water. Don't get in that. My just a tip is don't get in that mindset that top water is only made for right in the morning or in the evening.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're hitting it, fucking throw it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you have the conditions, use it. And I'm not saying, like, listen, don't go out there in 45 feet of water with fucking 2-foot rollers, throw your top water and said, well, Joe said they were going to hit and they're not hitting. Yeah. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously there's some conditions it's not going to work. It's not the choice. But, today it was just like, it was like the perfect storm, and I was like, could it be this? And it was. And so don't be afraid. Don't get in that mindset of, it's not going to work, because it might just be what they're looking for. And today that's exactly what it was.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. And it's funny, like you had mentioned in the comments, we got some that I want to go through, asking folks like what their favorite topwater presentation is. And I want to go through these, and then I want to talk about like conditions for specific baits, because not all topwaters are the same,
Nope.
They're really, it's a whole spectrum unto itself, really. So you had asked earlier in the chat, so it was for folks to give some info, and Pat Martin and Matt Thayer they're on the water right now, fishing right now, and they're watching this as they're fishing. And Pat comments, he goes, Matt's is definitely a buzzbait when nothing else works. He goes, I'm a Zoom frog guy, not horny toad, frog. I think I know the bait that he's talking about. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that. He also says that we're catching them live out here. Let's see, who else put some stuff in here? John Hagens goes, I love a Rebel Pop R, evening, low light when bait is running near the surface. That'll definitely do it. That'll for sure do it. Anybody else in here? Let's see. That's the waterboard. Let's see. Oh, we got a lot of comments in here. This is really good. John Higgins says the only time I've really thrown a topwater is when big hybrid stripers are on fire in the Ohio. And then Tim Behan says 0 bass bites between 4:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. Today. Metal Jones says, I need this pep talk for every other technique. I should have thrown some topwater this morning, says Tim Behan. I may hit Quabog Tuesday morning. And then Zach chimes in. He goes, thumper poppin' frog. So I want to throw this out there, okay? A lot of people talk about liking to throw frogs, and I'm here for it. I love it, right?
Yeah.
I run into this all the time. And you hear some people that are like, oh, yeah, you can throw a frog in open water. Of course you can throw a frog in open water. Really, what is a frog? A frog is a weedless walking bait and a weedless popper, depending on the style. And in some instances, it's a weedless buzz style bait or a prop bait. I have a theory with frogs, and this is not very popular with people. Joe, what is the one topwater technique that most people have the hardest time hooking up with?
Frog.
Why could that possibly be? I think maybe it might be because the hooks are designed to not be easily snagged on or easily caught up. Sure. So, when folks are like, oh, well, they're going to want to hit this frog, I'm going to throw this in open water. I lean away from that. I throw a frog when I have to. When the weeds are so much that I can't throw something with treble hooks and get, and work that bait effectively. So I'm throwing a frog where it's like I guess if they're going to hit something, this is what it's going to be, versus I'm going to throw this walking bait, or I'm going to throw a popper, or I'm going to throw a wake bait. Something like that. I hear a lot of people, and it's not a popular opinion. It's not like I hate frogs. Like, they have their place. And if we lived down south, they would have their place a whole lot more.
Sure.
I can think of one body of water around here where a frog is an absolute must. And Metal Jones says, you're absolutely correct, Bobby. My fucking God. I do. I feel like there's a love affair with frogs, and they're great. Yeah. But why make your job harder? I mean, unless it's a flex thing and you want to be like, I caught this on a frog because,
Yeah. No, I mean, look at me. I mean, I caught my PB this year on a popper next to pads.
Yeah.
Because, if I want to go in those pads, I'm going to throw the frog.
Tim goes, because those bits are pickerel, not bass.
However, I have, and I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
So I found a kind of a cheat code for myself this year with the topwater. So, what type of body of water do I want to throw a frog at? What does it have?
Heavy weeds, mats, or pads.
Right.
Yep.
I found a little bit of a cheat code this year to where bodies of water that don't have any of that, and people are like, oh, I'm not going to need a frog today. Well, guess what? Fucking they never see.
They never see a frog in those situations. Yeah, fair enough.
So guess what? I've caught some pretty decent fish on it in places that, so it's like that has done. And again, it's like, you're 100%. The hook sets, you have to really, it's something you have to work on.
Yep.
I feel like I've done pretty good at my frog hook setting technique because it's a pain in the dick, dude. You gotta have that patience where you're like that 1-2 set, and then hopefully you don't have too much slack and whatever. But yeah, I like frog fishing, but guess what? If I can throw some trebles out there instead, that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. If I can do that, I'm 100% gonna throw trebles. 100%. Now, I will say this. What was my first topwater fish this year? It was on a buzz toad. It was on a buzz toad, actually. My first topwater fish. That's one of my favorite presentations because it's like a little bit of the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? You get I like to throw the Z-Man goat toads specifically because they float and you can work them so many different ways. If you want them to sink down a little bit, you can't really do that. With those, but that's just my preference. I like them. They get abused and they stay together. It's great. So my first topwater fish this year was on one of those. I have been throwing a bunch of topwater. I just haven't had, aside from that day I had with the rat, that was it. But now let's talk conditions, because I have a little spectrum in my mind. If I see a little bit of chop on the water, I'm going to throw the louder, more aggressive baits.
Of course.
A little bit of chop on the water. I'm if I can throw a buzz bait, I will all day long. Absolutely love it. A buzz bait is probably the one that I want to go to most often. A walking bait is getting to be there too, because I just like the cadence. I like the freedom. I also like having 2 to 3 treble hooks hanging off of it. A prop bait can be fun. It's not my favorite topwater to throw.
Yeah, that's really something I've actually come away from the last couple of years, which I never thought I would.
It's just that, sometimes I think that there's definitely a time and a place.
Of course.
If it's one of those things where you got to work it a little bit slower than maybe you would have to work a buzz bait, I'll throw, one of those, but it's just covering water,
Yeah.
Similar, with a walking bait, though. And if I can with a walking bait, I think it's fun. I love it. Then we get into poppers and wake baits. And for those, I'm looking for more slick, calm surfaces. And I'll even throw floating jerks in there too. More of a subtle kind of action. With a popper specifically, I want to be throwing next to isolated cover, like you had mentioned, near pads or near wood.
Yep.
With a wake, it's a little bit different, because I'm especially the big wakes that I like, I'm looking to throw those over submerged weeds where I have about 4 to 6 inches of clear water before I hit the weeds, and I want that noise to try to grab that fish's attention. Yeah, it's just, for me, that's what it is. Is there any thing that sticks out to you?
Yeah, so I guess the only, and again, this is just me. This is just kind of something I figured out this year, and I'm very I love that Mega Bass Pop Max. I fucking love that bait, because the good thing, I will throw that when there's a little bit of chop, only because when there's not, I can kind of slow it down. It's more subtle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But when there's a little chop, dude, I can it's almost like you see the dudes with those giant poppers in the canal for stripers, dude. I'll start popping the shit out of that thing.
Yeah.
I get struck a lot doing that. I very, very, very rarely throw a buzz bait.
Really?
Very rarely do I throw a buzz bait. I prefer to do a little bit quicker cadence with a walking bait, because I'd rather have that again, and then it goes to the treble hooks. I'd rather have the opportunity for those treble hooks. Searching for it, and then you follow up with something else, but just very rarely do I throw a buzz bait. I just prefer to use a slower cadence. When it comes to wake baits, that's something I really want to get more confident in. It's not something I throw very often. It's such a great bait that I just never go to for some reason. And the perfect ones you said, that fish profile and that and those weeds and stuff like that. Especially depending on what kind of there's so many different kind of wake baits, whether it's just some kind of small wake bait from fucking whoever, 13 fishing, whatever. That's
Yep.
basically just the size of a crankbait. And then you can get up to the, the wooden, custom, swim baits.
Oh yeah,
wake
like the
baits,
Bruce
you know what I
Gillis
mean?
and shit. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's so many different types of them, and then you have your rats, your snakes, your all that bullshit too. So yeah, so I really got to get a little bit more confident in that. I have them, I just fucking never throw them, dude, and like. I don't know why.
Zach says something here. He goes, "You really need to try that Weed Whacker, Joe. It's freaking deadly." I will say this. I think that finesse buzz baits are often slept on. Slightly lighter, slightly more compact. And I don't know if it's maybe just the blade size. It's maybe a little bit higher pitch of a squeak. When they start getting squeaky, that Weed Whacker, I put that in my buzzbait binder when it came in, and I was like, this is going to come in clutch. Same thing with that, the Jig Masters one. There's a smaller finesse buzzbait there. And actually, like, I'm telling you, man, it's like there's something about those, but like buzzbaits, I have like 4 blade buzzbaits from Matt Thayer that are just like insanely like it's like running a pontoon boat with like multiple like 150s on the back. It's like sludge. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But the beauty is you can run those so much slower because of all that distortion on the water. It's just unbelievable.
It's awesome.
I do not like running buzz baits at like dusk where there are beavers nearby. I find that they get pissed big time.
And they just start smashing
they
their
start
tail.
slapping their tails,
Yeah.
swimming up to the fucking boat and shit. And I'm like stabbing them in the face. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'll turn you into nachos. Nelson, get over here.
Hell yeah.
You know? Fucking A. Yeah, man. I think you can't go wrong with Topwater. You just
no.
If they're hitting it, fucking enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, dude.
You only get so many of those blow ups every in your life.
That's it.
That's true.
It.
All right, this is gonna get funny. All right, so this is going to actually be kind of short and sweet because here's the deal. Those guys, when I was talking about my week in review earlier in the show, how I was talking about how I had seen these guys and I was like, oh, these idiots aren't thinking. And, they're fishing off both sides of the boat in this small little area, got to get around them. And then they passed by us and they were fishing upriver from us and we fished on the opposite side. Well, we get back to the launch and I go and I tie off to the dock and Jimmy's getting his stuff together and I'm getting my stuff together. I'm cleaning stuff up and putting rods away, putting baits away, just getting everything in order. And who rolls up to the ramp right next to us? Now at the Oxbow ramp, it's a 2-laner, right? Mm-hmm. You put 2 trailers in there. These guys roll up and they are on the right-hand side and I'm on the dock, which is on the left-hand side. So I'm getting my stuff together. We're making some small talk. These guys, both guys get out of the boat and they put a rope on the front hook of the boat and they're holding it there. And I'm like, all right, sweet. So we're making some small talk and I'm like, yeah, I was like, and I noticed this boat had the same Merc 50 that I have. I was like, what do you think of that? And he was like, you know what? He goes, at first I thought it was going to be a little underpowered. He goes, but I'll tell you what, he goes, it's just right. It's not too much. It's just enough to get me where I need to go. I can get on plane and, it's no problem. I was like, yeah, I love mine. I was really, really happy so far. So they start commenting on my boat. They're like, oh, that's really nice, blah, 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 blah. Well, it came out that this guy bought his boat earlier in the year, like I think in February. And he was like, oh, it's the best thing I ever did. And I was like, oh, no shit. I was like, that looks like brand new. And I tell him, I'm like, yeah, I just bought my boat in June. And he's like, oh, no kidding. And I'm like, yeah, I love it. It's the best thing I ever did. I'm out like so many times. It's just, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it when you break it down per trip. And I can only estimate from his reaction, which was just silent, but just the overall conversation, I can only estimate that he probably doesn't get out on the water too often. So I kind of left it alone. I mean, it is what it is. You know, that's folks have different lives. Not everybody is as I am lucky as fuck that I'm able to fish as often as I do right now. I'm really lucky. I don't take that for granted at all. But, you know, and it is what it is. And I left it alone until what happened next happened. So I get off the boat. I walk down the dock and I go over to the truck. I start my truck up. I notice this guy coming to get his truck. I back down into my spot, right? I go get back on the boat and I start backing things up. I'm coming around. This guy's backing his trailer down to the boat. Now, he is basically playing this game of like pushing the boat back and then hooking it up to crank it up.
Yeah.
I'm just power loading my boat. You know, I'm like, I'm in, I'm out, I'm on my way. And I pull right into the parking spot where I originally was. And I start draining my boat. I start strapping everything down. I'm taking all my gear, putting my rods in the truck. I'm taking my backpack, putting that away. I'm taking the iPad off, getting everything in order, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. And I look behind me and I'm like, where's this dude?
He was still at the fucking ramp.
Strapping the truck in, like he pulled up and out of the water, but was doing everything right in front of the ramp. Yes, there are 2 spots where somebody could go. But God, he was pulled up so far that you couldn't make that corner to go and then do the loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
And I'm just like, son of a bitch, if there was ever a time where I wish I had one of those information cards, like, hey, you know, here's some tips. You know, hey, for what it's worth, listen to this. Now, I talked to these guys about the show. And I was like, yeah, I do a fishing podcast. They might listen. You know what I mean? And they might hear me talking about them on the show. And it is not meant from a place of being a fucking douchebag or anything like that. This is like, I get it. Like, if you don't do this that often, sometimes your headspace just isn't in there to be efficient so that other people can utilize the resource. And granted, at this time, there were a couple people getting kayaks off their roof rack in the individual car spots. And that was kind of it, you know? So it really wasn't affecting anybody per se, but it's just like the bad practice of it just kind of drove me a little bit nuts.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I said to Jimmy, I was like, I gotta put these guys in the FTG. I got to, you know? I was like, unless we get a phone call, if anybody else calls with anything at all, that's fine. But I gotta put these guys in the FTG, you know? It's like, gents, think about the big picture. Guys. Zoom out a little bit and you're gonna get them. Trust me, man. It's gonna be a good time. We have one final thing to kind of talk about here, which is kind of cool because it's been a little bit.
Okay, gearheads, it's time to talk tools. Jigs and Bigs gear of the week.
So I actually have 2 little things I want to talk about here. One of them is swim baits. Not big swim baits. I'm talking about small, soft plastic swim baits, paddle tails. Specifically, like I have been in the summertime is where I find that fat impact action, that big sweeping tail, to be most effective. Then the body rocking. I feel like once you get into the colder months, you know, once things start to cool or are on a downward or cooling trend, you start to see things a little bit differently where like the minnow style baits that shimmy when they swim are a little bit more effective. But here's the deal. I was one of these guys that was buying like a 5-inch, a 4-inch, and a 3-inch bait. Buy the in-between sizes. Mix it up. If there's a color that you like that works, buy a pack in every single size. And it just amazed me because, like, I'll tell you, I started this week for the first time throwing the 3.3-inch Kitech Fat Impacts on a perfected Jigmasters ball head jig. And wow, like lights out. Normally on that, I'll throw the 3.8. And it's just another 1/2 inch, or no, not on that, not the 3.8. I'll throw the 2.8 on that normally, but that little that 1/2 inch longer body just seems to have a little bit more kick, and it gives you such a great option. So if there's a swim bait you like, whatever brand it might be, look at all the sizes and buy a handful of them. Trust me, for the cost of soft plastics, like even if you only do it in a color that you use most of the time, fuck around with those. It's amazing the pairing when you dial into just a little bit closer to the profile that they're actually eating, how they can react, you know? And I was always the guy forever was like, oh, I just buy the 5-inch, or I'd buy, you know, like with my Senkos, my stick baits, I'll buy the 5 and I'll cut them down. Or I'll buy the 6 and I'll cut them down, you know?
Yep.
Sometimes you get to different sizes and the proportions change, you know? Like you kind of need that shape of the head to be behind the jig head to get the right action versus cutting it flat and having that hit the water and provide resistance, you know, something like that. So it's like, it's one of those things. Experiment a little bit, dabble, get crazy. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is this, and this is more of an upcoming review, and I'm stoked about this. I got my new jig rod in from St. Croix. I had that Bass X, that 7-1 medium heavy fast. And I loved it. I caught my new PB largemouth on it, and I had a failure where the glue that held the reel seat in place went to shit. So what I did was I went through the warranty process, and it arrived Saturday afternoon. And they didn't replace it with the same combo because they didn't have the Bass X in stock. Instead, they made me a deal I couldn't refuse, and I picked up the Mojo Bass, which is one step up from that. Same specs, 7-1 medium heavy fast, and it arrived. And I put my Corrado 8-speed reel on there with my 20-pound fluoro. And my big black and blue 3/8 ounce jig with the monster with the Magnum Baits beef craw in black and blue flake on there. And I took a few, you know, pitches with it just to kind of like test out the rod. But this rod has those, what they call trigon grips. And the only way I can describe those, like the cork handle almost has like a triangular shape to it, but with like rounded edges. So it's still smooth all the way around. Like there's no corners or anything like that, you know, but they're slightly rounded edges. And I don't know if it's, now I have a weird shaped hand. I have small hands, like palming a reel.
Me too.
Is a bitch. And I'm like, I don't mind this. Like I'm excited to see how this works. It feels like more of a minimalist handle. Like it feels more like you're in way more contact with the blank than anything else. So I'm excited.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. This could be very, very cool. So let me fish with, I'm probably not going to even do like a full review on this rod unless like something goes totally to shit or anything like that. Until like maybe next summer. Where I can really like put it through its paces and see what's going on.
Yeah,
I want to throw it with swim jigs. I want to throw it with all kinds of other stuff. Plus, you know, this way it gives me a little bit more time to put it through the motions of like, okay, so how does it handle a big fish? You know, and then I'll give you guys all that info. But I'm stoked. I'm absolutely delighted with this. So it's pretty awesome. So with the other thing that's really nice, I have an abundance of random bait casting rods. And I kept the tube, the cardboard tube, and I'm putting all of these in there to just hang on to them because I want to put together like some bait casting combos and specifically other jig combos where I can take folks out that want to learn like a jig technique and I can show them and go like how to use a bait caster. I'm going to have multiples where you're like, okay, let's blow up this one. All right, let's blow up this one. Let's keep going until you get it down, you know, and make it happen. So, yeah, very cool. As far as your swim baits, gear of the week, man, buy those in between sizes. Like experiment a little bit. Just try them out, you know. You never know what you can stumble on if you get out of your own way of thinking. And, more stuff to come with our Mojo Bass jig rod now. We'll see how this goes. Stoked, man. That's all I got this week. That's it.
Me too, dude.
It's been a good show. We hit that 2-hour mark, which I knew that we would. I do want to mention before we go out again, the slot tournament for the fall is happening. It's in October the 12th. It's on Fishing Chaos right now. In this week's episode, you're going to see a link right at the top. You can go ahead and sign up. I recommend you do it in advance and share it with your friends because there's a handful of things going on. Number one, the more people that enter the slot tournament, the more money we can raise for Breast Cancer Research Foundation. That is awesome. The other thing is that the more people that we have entered, the more money there is in the pot, and the more spots pay out for the winners, which is fantastic as well. So we're going to have ourselves a good time. Jigheads, a reminder, be in touch this week with the Patreon. You're probably all going to get a notification when I drop the post with all the details, but
what are we calling that? Oh, Boats and Scroats 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That is happening that weekend. And, some tasty cuisine and probably, dare I say, probably the best hang in the eastern quarter of the United States. I'm going to go ahead and say that, So Jigheads, you'll have information. You can join us. We have about 7 or 8 different spots where we can facilitate folks. It's going to be great. We're going to have ourselves a great time. And just, it's the content, everything. It's going to be great. So that about does it for me. Joe, you got anything you want to throw in here?
No, man. Awesome show. For those of you out there that follow me on the socials, don't forget to follow me on TikTok, American Vet Fishing. Started to do a lot of lives on there.
Yep.
Been getting a lot of interaction from you guys, and I appreciate it. So, other than that, man, I'm just friggin' ready to kill this week and talk to you again next week.
It's going to be a good one, man. I'm looking forward to it. We got 1 more week left of August. And the scavenger hunt isn't over yet. And you know what? You know what kind of degenerate piece of shit I am? I have judged none of these fish. I have so many fish to judge. So I am going to be taking some time and getting into it and judging these fish and getting things confirmed because September is right around the corner. And you guys can also join the September multi-species scavenger hunt. Link will be in this podcast as well. Thanks a bunch to everybody who's listening. Our Jigheads, we love you guys. You're absolutely the best. We couldn't do this without you guys. For real. You're powering this. Your subscriptions, they power this podcast, make it something that we're actually able to get done. And we appreciate you. One final thing I want to mention, we do have some great merch available at jigsandbigs.com. If you're interested, you want to get all nice and fancy. A lot of folks have been asking about stickers. Yes, we have stickers available on the website. Go ahead, get your Jigs and Bigs stickers there. You can choose the size now, too. I think it's a 3, a 4, and a 6-inch, or a 3, a 5, and a 6-inch, something like that. And you can decorate whatever you would like to and spread the Jigs and Bigs love. We appreciate you guys. Have yourselves a good one. We'll see you in 7 days for more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Until then,
Tits and ass, smoke some grass. Bing bong, 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 b